Good morning, everyone. It's time for us to get started. So if you'll take a seat since you get your coffee, and we'll get going. My name is Jim Shirley, and I'm a management consultant here in Kansas. My company is James Shirley Management Consultants. Quality improvement consultant in healthcare. So I work in hospitals and clinics all the time. And healthcare is my passion, and it is my life. I would like to remind you, though, to silence your cell phone. So if you have a cell phone with you, and I think everyone does have a cell phone, and you put that on silence or turn it off. And also, business cards into the fish bowl, which is now a wooden bowl. The fish bowl is broken. So we have a beautiful new wooden bowl to put your business cards in. Now the reason for doing that is gifts that will be given away today, certificates. $25 gift certificate to use at Fleet Feet, Tulsa stores. Running shoes, you can buy running shoes, my wife's running shoes, well, Lori, there she is, right there, the green jacket right there. She and her husband home, they're one of our sponsors today. And then a $50 gift certificate from Remote Cleaners. There's Jim White right there, sitting right beside Lori. And both of them are small business owners and members of the Small Business Council. So $50 gift certificate from Remote. I work closely with Jim. That's a great thing. So both Lori with Little Feet and Jim with Remote. And one of our great sponsors to have us at this facility today, and isn't this a beautiful place for us to have a small business forum? Tulsa Tech. So Jennifer, would you like to come up and say a little bit about Tulsa Tech? Thank you so much for having us here.
Thanks, Karen. Thank you guys. Just wanted to say welcome to Tulsa Tech. We're excited about this forum. I think you're going to have a lot of good information. So make sure you take a lot of good notes. And just want to say thanks. I'm with the business and industry side of Tulsa Tech. So how many of you guys thought Tulsa Tech was just for high school students? Anyone? We are that, and so any training that you guys need for your businesses, that's what we do. We customize it just for your business. So give us a call. There's lots of Tulsa Tech. If you're with Tulsa Tech, raise your hand. Lots of colleagues around the table. So you guys enjoy. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here.
Well, besides Tulsa Tech as our sponsor, we also have Burnett Incorporated, and Corey McCool is from Burnett. Corey, right? Oh yes, Corey, you want to say something? Sure.
Well, we just want to thank everybody for coming out this morning and giving us the opportunity to sponsor this event. Our showroom's located on 61st and Garnett, and if any of you guys ever get a chance to, come on in there and have a cup of coffee and take a look around. And we'd also like to thank the Chamber for these educational forums. Thank you.
I want to introduce the speakers to you now. As the Small Business Council of Tulsa Metro Chamber, men and women who own their business work together to put on the small business related programs. One of the things we've come up with over a long period of time is the Small Business Education Forum. This is one of those small business programs. As we were talking about it, we looked back to one we did several months ago where we had 5 speakers. We had a lot of speakers, a lot of slides. This time, we settled on 3 speakers and asked each of them 5 minutes. Now, we have an accountant, a lawyer, and a small business broker. And what do you think they said when I said 5 minutes? They said, 5 minutes! They said 5 minutes. So each of them have a few slides to give you their perspective from an accountant, a lawyer, a small business broker. And then the rest of the time is going to be your questions. So please have your questions ready. As they come along, as you listen to them, get those questions ready for them. Our Debbie Blackwell's from Conrad Winters. Some of you know Conrad Winters Law Firm. It's the largest law firm in Oklahoma. It has the largest healthcare law practice in Oklahoma. And Debbie is part of that healthcare law practice. She's a partner with the firm. She's been involved with health plan design and compliance matters for more than 30 years in the insurance industry, also as an attorney. And Jim Millway, in there, is with the Homes Organization. organization here in town, and he's a benefits consultant with Homes Organization, works directly with local, regional, and national employers. He's only one of 3 benefits consultants in the United States that's certified as critical outcomes reporting analysis for both wellness and disease management. He's an avid supporter of transforming healthcare for both patients and purchasers, as well as pursuing better care, better health, and lower costs. And Mike Caraway is with BKD. He's the accountant. There's Mike. Now he came here from Texas. Can you believe it? We have a speaker from Texas. Brought his entire family, spent all his money for days. So just Texas money, came here to Oklahoma and stayed in hotels and had a big time here the past few days. But Steve Holden, who was with BKD, the accounting firm locally, could not be with us. So he recruited one of his partners from Texas to come up and speak with us. And Mike, as a partner with BKD, specializes in the tax area, so business taxes, that's his specialty. He spent over 18 years working with corporations and partnerships in various industries as they deal with complex and changing tax laws. And this is a complex changing law, including the recent addition of tax provisions of the Affordable Care Act. So that's one of the specialties. So we have a business broker, accountant, and a lawyer. We're going to give you a short presentation and then open up to your questions. So I think we are ready.
Got that. Technology that works. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, class. Jim confessed he will not let me talk as long as I'd like to. But just a few things to get you started thinking. First of all, and we may come back to this, this is like a new language. We're dealing with concepts we haven't dealt with before. So,
Yes.
Okay. It's a new language, and so the sooner that we kind of accept that and learn the words, then we'll be able to talk more easily and more accurately about what the issues are. And one of the important things that we'll talk about today, I think probably all of us will touch on it, is minimum essential coverage. That's the coverage that individuals have to have in order to avoid a penalty. So we're all individuals in here. We might be small business owners or lawyers at a law firm or whatever else we do, but we're all individuals. And unless we qualify for an exception, like being enrolled in the Cherokee Nation, we have to have coverage or pay a tax penalty. So that's, and minimum essential coverage it also comes into play in the employer penalty, the employer mandate penalty. Sometimes it's referred to as a pair play penalty. But that's been delayed here. So, yay. Minimum value is also something that will come up on your on the notices that you're sending out. We'll talk a little bit about those. The notices that are due 10-1 by all employers that are subject to the Fair Labor Standards Act. That's the minimum wage rule. If you have to pay minimum wages and overtime, then you're subject to this rule, and you're required by statute to send out a notice. There's a form that the Department of Labor has provided us, a form if you offer coverage and if you don't offer coverage. Now, one of the bullets you'll see here, the next to last bullet, there's no fine or penalty for failing to send this out. There are a lot of laws where there's not a precise or an immediate fine or penalty for not doing something. An example is a summary plan description or the booklet that you hand out to employees. You're required to hand that out to employees, but under ERISA. But even insurance plans are required to provide this summary plan description. There's no penalty if you
don't do it, there can be in court later. So, but we still do it. And why? Because employees need to know what they're getting. And so that's sort of where we are right now. Employees need to know about these exchanges. And you're going to get questions, probably regardless, because a lot of employees don't read things that we give them. But if you can avoid a few questions by giving them the information, that's kind of the idea of it. That's a reason to do it. If you don't want to do it, there's no fine or penalty, and the government actually very kindly told us that recently at the link that you have above. But that notice, if you offer a plan, that notice should say whether your plan is affordable and it has minimum value. And minimum value just means it's a 60% plan. Most major medical plans offered by employers have minimum value. Not all, but most. So that's what's going on. We usually get a lot of questions about that. If you offer a plan, it's a 3-page form. I would encourage you not to do the 3rd page. The 3rd page is personalized. I just saw one yesterday where the administrator had filled out the 3rd form, the 3rd page. That's nice, but not required, and can get you into some. If you do it wrong, that's worse than not doing it at all, I think. Summary of benefits and coverage. Just talked to somebody yesterday and said, well, has someone done your summary of benefits and coverage? You're required to provide it at enrollment or at your annual enrollment or at the beginning of a plan year if your plan changes. And she had never heard of it. She's the one that does the enrollment. And so I said, well, check. And sure enough, they had one. It hadn't been given to her, and so it hadn't been given to the employees. But that needs to go out. That carries $1,000 per failure fine. So that one you want to look for. It's 8 pages, 4 pages front and back, on a format prescribed by the government. The theory is so we can compare plans. If all the plans have an SBC that's the same format, then you can look at 2 of them and know where they differ. So that's the theory of it, and every plan is required to do it. Your insurance companies for insured plans will be doing that. And one thing I didn't ask, how many folks have more than 50 employees, or maybe advise people with more than 50 employees? So, just a few. Well, good news for you guys. The IRS has delayed by 1 year the employer mandate penalty, and that's if you have more than 50 employees and you don't offer coverage, you can face a couple of different kinds of penalties. If you don't offer minimum essential coverage, remember we just talked about that, to at least 95% of your employees, you can have a penalty. And if you don't offer 95% of your full-time employees, and if you don't offer a minimum value affordable plan to those employees, you can still have additional pain. So, most of the folks in the room are not facing that, but you may be growing into 50 next year or future years, and so you just want to be aware of where you stand with that 50 employee rule, and it's 50 employees, count all your full-time, plus the equivalent full-time employees of your part-time employees. So you add up your part-time hours and divide through by 120, you come up with a full-time equivalent. And so if you've got a few full-time and a whole, like in a retail or a service industry and a whole lot of part-time, you need to really be looking at this rule. It may affect you in ways that you don't realize. There are some reports that will be required. Probably not going to affect a whole lot of people in here because most are under 50, but every individual who's covered by a plan will receive a report either from the employer or the insurance company as to whether or not they have minimum essential coverage. Remember that? Minimum essential coverage, you take it to your accountant or you tag that report to your tax return, And that will get you out of, if it says you had no essential coverage for the whole year, it'll get you out of your individual penalty. But there will be these reports. Large employers, again over 50, will also have to report what coverage they were offered and was it minimum value affordable. And that won't happen until 2015. Those reports coming out in early 2016. So something to keep an eye on. A lot of you won't be directly affected. One other thing, when you're measuring, do you have over 50 employees, you need to look at your control group of corporations or controlled trades or businesses. So you want to be very careful about ownership and make sure while you're a small employer that you're not really a member of a large employer that is subject to all these rules eventually next year on penalty and the reporting. And then if you are a large employer, you want to be counting hours and probably starting that this fall if you're looking at managing if you have part-time employees and you want to manage whether they're full-time or part-time and offer them coverage on a calendar year basis. That's a whole separate discussion. But
May I ask a quick question, because I'm writing down furiously? Can we get a copy of the PowerPoint?
we had talked about having them on the website, is that, so, yes.
Okay.
So the slides will be on the website.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so what happens, you're sending out a notice to all your employees, what's going to happen to them when they get to the exchange? There are 4 levels of coverage: bronze, silver, gold, platinum. There's another one for the young invincibles, the under 30s, but they, our nieces and nephews and kids who think they don't need coverage because nothing's ever going to happen to them, they get a special deal, even cheaper. But the bronze level is a 60% plan. It has minimum value. It's the cheapest plan you can get. We don't know, maybe some insurance folks back there know what it's going to look like, but they may not tell us until October 1. But in California, where we know what the design, they set designs. In California, it's a $5,000 deductible plan. That's the bronze. Silver has a $2,000 deductible plan, and then the other plans have co-pays but not deductible. So that just gives you a feel for what those are. And so if you have employees who are not covered by your plan, you don't offer them coverage. And if you're under 50, it doesn't matter. You don't face a penalty if you don't offer them coverage. So you've got folks who you don't offer coverage to, they can go to the exchange, and if they're between 100% and 400% of federal poverty level, they can qualify for their household income. They can qualify for a subsidy. Let's look at that subsidy. These are the federal poverty level adjusts based on the family size. So or the household size. So for one person, it's $11,490. But for a family of 6, like my niece, who keeps having babies, and her husband, it's $31,590 for 100% of her. And for my niece and her family, anyone between $31,000, anywhere between that and $126,000, they can get a subsidy from the exchange if they are not offered coverage by an employer that's affordable and minimum value. Okay, once you offer that affordable minimum value, the family cannot go here. But for your employees who don't have coverage, this is remarkable. Okay, now if they're under 100%, they can go to the exchange, but there's no subsidy. This was built for the states to also expand Medicaid, and we have not expanded Medicaid, so that's not there for Oklahoma. But this is something that I think everybody needs to be aware of, especially as you're designing your plan for your group and you're worrying about our employees who have access to coverage. We have to offer a plan because they need it. Well, for some, you may not need it. And if you're struggling with some of the requirements to offer coverage, there's an alternative here. Even, this doesn't count my career, but, don't offer a plan. I mean, really, there are some situations where sending everybody to the exchange is, kind of makes sense. Okay, and then here's the individual mandate penalty and some exceptions that are on most lists, and here's my caveat. And just Jim.
Okay. So we have water.
Good morning. I'm Mike, and can you guys hear me okay? I have a bad habit of moving around. So is this one working? You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I have a bad habit of moving around a little bit. My dad is a preacher, and it's genetic, so I'm liable to go that end and back again. Thank you guys for having all of us. Thank you for having me. As Jim said, I'm the kid from elsewhere. I drove up from Dallas a couple of days ago. As you might can tell by the way that I talk, I ain't from around there neither. I'm actually originally from Jackson, Mississippi, and I did bring my family with me, and we were tickled to death to be back somewhere where there are actual pine trees. So we have had a great time in Tulsa the last couple of days, spent the day at the zoo yesterday. But thank you all for having us. That is not what you want to hear from me today, so I will be brief. I will reiterate a couple of things that Debbie mentioned. Then I'll turn it over to Jim. I will tell you that as the accountant, I don't specialize in this as much as some of our other folks do. I do work in the area because there are things with percentages attached to them in these laws. There are some tax aspects to it. Those are the areas where I work. So basically what I do, I try to scare employers and employees to death with this stuff and then send them running to the consultants and lawyers to figure out what they need to do about it. So I will emphasize a little bit some of the penalties and taxes without solutions attached to them. And that's what our other folks are here to talk to you about. So very briefly, want to mention the penalty. Now, Debbie did what we wanted to make sure we had found out, and that was to basically survey the group and see who here falls into the penalty prone or the penalty eligible area. And it seems like there's not a lot of folks that are currently in the 50 or over full-time employee area, but something Debbie did mention that I wanted to reiterate, that is, you are considered a quote-unquote large employer, even if you don't really have 50 full-time employees. You have to look at full-time equivalents. So if you do have a lot of part-time folks, and once you go through the math, divide by 120 hours, etc., if you've got 50 or more full-time equivalents, you have to pay attention to this, and you may be subject to a penalty if you are not providing the appropriate coverage. I'm not going to go into all of the math, because even though I'm an accountant and maybe we have some other math folks in the room who are very excited about it, I know it's not nearly as much fun for you guys as it is for me. My idea of a good time is putting numbers in boxes. What's scary about that is I'm actually also married to an accountant, so you can imagine how incredibly passionate and amazing our home life is, our dinner table conversation is at night. So I won't go into all the math of the penalty, but again, just know that just because you may not have 50 full-time people on payroll doesn't mean you are not a large employer for purposes of whether you would be required to offer minimum affordable coverage or be subject to a penalty, which might be, it's capped at, I will mention a little bit of math, it's capped at an annual number of 2,000 an employee for all your full-time employees, or 3,000 an employee for those that aren't that aren't eligible for the appropriate coverage. I'm grossly oversimplifying, just so I can say that I threw a couple of numbers out. Again, we can go into more detail if you like, but that probably isn't the level of detail we want to discuss in a forum like this morning. I won't talk about this because it's old news. It seems that we probably do have a number of folks in the room whose businesses would qualify for this credit. It's existed for a little while now. You should already be getting it. If you are not, you need to talk to your attorney and your tax advisor. But it has existed for a while now, so I won't go into any detail there. This is something that's coming in the future. Excise tax on high value plans. It's one of those things that if it sticks, is going to be an issue for folks that are offering plans that are over a certain value. There's the math on how it's calculated and what is considered high value coverage. Those are the threshold amounts. It's effective after 2017 currently, so that's it's not an immediate concern, but it is a concern in terms of planning for the future and what kind of coverage are you offering. Individual mandates. So we've been talking about employers. I believe Debbie also mentioned this. Every single person in the room, whether we are in business or not, whether we employ people or not, are subject to be affected by this law. My guess is most or all of us in the room currently have insurance coverage or an alternative. And my guess is we're probably going to end up talking about some alternatives. But there is a requirement that you have a certain level of coverage for each and every human, and that is effective after this year. If you do not have that coverage, you are subject to a penalty. Again, I won't get into the math of how the penalty is calculated, but it does exist. There are premium assistance credits. Debbie talked about this in much more detail than I would be able to. But for folks who can't afford it or meet some other benchmarks, there are assistance credits available. If you're on the other side of that, you employ one of these folks and they are receiving credits or they're receiving assistance of some kind, that's where, again, penalties can kick in for you as an employer. A couple other things I want to mention very briefly, and this again is something this applies to every person in the room who makes certain amounts of income or has certain types of income. There's going to be an additional 0.9% tax on any earned income over these threshold amounts. You say, okay, well, I don't get a W-2, so I'm not subject to this, right? Well, no, if you're self-employed, this 0.9% is also getting added to the self-employment tax. Now, and everybody thinks about those of you who are self-employed, oh, well, I get a deduction for half my self-employment tax. Well, you won't for this because it's only the employee portion that's getting hit with the 0.9%. So there's no additional deduction for it. So this is just this is an added tax for Medicare purposes that's going to apply to everybody at these threshold amounts. And that actually is as we sit here. So the money that you're earning right now is going to be subject to this tax over and above these threshold amounts. Another additional tax, and this is where I'll cut off. I have a few other slides, but I want to make sure that we do have time for questions. The other additional tax that I want to mention is the additional 3.8% tax on net investment income. It's actually the lesser net investment income are your excess. This is where I get excited to start talking about modified AGI and excesses. The excess of modified AGI over a threshold amount, but basically it's usually going to be probably your net investment income. It applies to individuals, states, and trusts. They're still working through the details of that, and it is effective as we speak. The 3.8% and the 0.9% that I previously mentioned are not mutually exclusive. It is absolutely possible and probable for a lot of folks that say earn a lot of money, a lot being over 200 or 250,000, if that's what you want to call a lot. That's a subjective that trying to apply subjective measure to an absolute dollar amount. It's entirely possible that folks who make that kind of money and who have significant investments will get hit with both additional taxes. So I know my clients, my individual clients, and my business clients who have executives who earn in this range and who have significant passive investments. This is something that, I mean, I've seen concern, I've seen panic, I've seen anger. Really what we advise people to do is just plan for it. Just know it's coming. It is now a fact of life. You know, everybody knows what you see in the news. We hear hysteria. This is something Debbie and I were talking about earlier. Nothing's perfect. Everybody has their own political axe to grind. I have mine, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk to you all about the facts, what the dollar numbers are, what the requirements are, and what you should do now or should have already started doing in terms of planning around it. So that said, I will stop and turn the microphone over to whichever Jim I should.
The last speaker is Jim Melloway from the Homes Organization. He's a business broker.
Good morning.
Morning.
My slides are going to be a lot less complex, but I have to give Debbie all the credit in the world. Debbie emailed me on Thursday and said, Jim, you should look at slide 8 of this presentation, and that slide was 100, or that was 101 pages. So she did a good job to get it down from 101 pages. The first thing I want to talk about, this one, is this better?
Yes.
The first thing I want to talk about is something that most of you have probably already seen, of all those just now starting to come out for Blue Cross people that might have Blue Cross as their insurance carrier, that we've seen it from United and Aetna and now Community Care, are these early renewal offers. And so raise your hand if you've seen these or are familiar with these at all. Pretty much what it says is beginning January 1, 2014, there's going to be increased cost to you as a small business employer if you're buying insurance. Whether that's fees, whether that's taxes, or whether it's just an insurance carrier having to take on more risk and not really sure what that's going to do. So everybody under 50 that we've been talking to is getting these early renewal offers, and about 99% of the people are taking them. And really the reason why they're taking them is this early renewal offer is going to kick the can of healthcare reform down the road for you for about 11 months. So you're not going to have to really feel and see the cost implications of healthcare reform until December 1st of 2014. So it's certainly something to consider, but it's not right for everybody. And I'll explain why in a second. Although the vast majority of business owners we're talking to are jumping all over this, for some of them it doesn't make financial sense. And we'll get into that right now. So we've already heard everyone talk about small group and large group. So we're going to still talk about small groups to the under 50. And people keep saying, Jim, what should I expect in 2014? How bad is it going to be? How good is it going to be? And for what we've seen from the first handful of carriers, specifically United and Aetna that came out earlier in the year before everybody else, we're looking at 30% increases on average. I mean, we had some people with 60, we had some people at minus 10. And so it's really dependent on what your group is. And so we say 30% safe, but you could be 10% or you could be minus 10. Now, the minus 10 people, if you've got 15 employees and everybody's 59 years old, then your rates are going to come down. You know, if I've got a small manufacturing shop and I've got 25 guys that work for me and they're all 22 years old, then I'm probably on the high end of that. You'll see those rates come closer together. So some people will win and some people will lose depending on how you look at it. But we certainly do expect some rate shock for small employers going forward, and especially in 2014. That's why we've seen so many people raise their hand and say, yeah, sign me up for December 1st. I'll take my 5% increase December 1st, knowing that at least I have a year to see what's going to happen. So, more importantly, what do you do? It's different for everybody. Everybody sees benefits, and specifically health insurance is a different thing as an employer. We have employers that hate it. They'd love to just wash their hands of it. They say, I have to have it just because so-and-so down the hall won't leave me alone. We have other employers that it's a critical part of who they are as a company. It's a cultural thing. It's still the paternalistic relationship with the employee. We need to take care of it. It's a huge part of our compensation. It's what we use to recruit, it's what we use to retain individuals. And so people will fall all over that spectrum, but wherever you are, you still have to do something. Debbie mentioned it, and for a lot of small employers, exchanges might make sense. You might just say, you know, I've dealt with this for too long. I'm going to wash my hands of it. I'm going to give everybody $200, $300, whatever it may be, and they can go buy their own plan. But then buy that on the exchange. We have other people that don't want to do that, and we have other people where the employees might not want that. But it's certainly going to be an option that we're encouraging people to look at. You know, we have employers that have already told us we're absolutely doing this. And it hasn't changed our role with those employers. It's probably made it even more important because now the employees need us and our assistance more than ever, because now we're dealing with a small employer with 20 employees and 15 different health plans, 5 different insurance carriers, and so there's still going to be a lot of confusion. And so you want to make sure that you can, even if that's a great benefit for your folks, you want to make sure that you can walk them down that path and at least they know where to go and who to talk to. The other thing that we're seeing people start to look at, and these acronyms are for direct primary care and high deductible health plans. And these next 2 points are going to kind of bleed together. We're encouraging people to start to think about health insurance like insurance, because typically we don't. You know, under no circumstance do I go to Jiffy Lube and get irate that Farmers isn't paying for my oil change. And I never sit at home when a light bulb goes out and say, insurance takes forever to replace the light bulb. You know, and so typically if you look up insurance as a definition, you pay a small amount of premium for a very unlikely happening of a large loss. But a lot of what we do for health insurance today is just prepaying. And so oftentimes that can be more expensive. And so we've seen employers look to high deductible health plans. Now direct primary care is what we've used for some small employers, and this is generally a concept that we use for large employers for years, that we put doctors on site. So if you worked at a big company, you had your own doc. You didn't have to go wait in line, you get your doc, you get your drugs. But what happens about small employers? We only have 47 people on our health plan at the Holmes organization. So we're a small employer. Now, but what we do is we went to some people that are primary care docs and said, we don't need insurance for this. Can we just pay you a fee for direct primary care? And then we put a higher deductible around that. So our employees that are dependents on their children get 90% of their care for free. So, you know, you get the sniffles, you know, you have high blood pressure, you know, any number of chronic diseases, things that aren't expensive. You know, I'm never going to show up at my primary care doc's office and have a $20,000 bill. It's just not possible. And so what we're seeing employers do is say, well, give me that, and then we'll buy a high deductible health plan, or let people choose. You know, let people choose a $1,000 deductible, a $5,000 deductible, and probably one of the greatest, you know, groups of people we've been able to work with are sitting here in the back of the room with this for some small employers, because what you'll see on top of this is narrow networks. And how many people have heard or read about narrow networks and things like that? But essentially, so even yesterday afternoon, the state of Arkansas released their rates for the exchanges. And the state government's touting that this is great, it's 25% cheaper than it was today. But I know better than to believe that. What's happening is I'd like to see those plans compared. And plans are going to get cheaper because instead of being able to go to every hospital, you're going to be able to get a better deal if you're saying, I'm okay with just going to one hospital, or I'm okay with just going to 2 hospitals. And so you'll see plans and insurance carriers over time offer more and more narrow networks. And narrow networks aren't necessarily a bad thing. You know, you let people choose. Does anyone in here ever handle workers' comp for their employer? And I see people raise your hands. How long would I last in your office if I said, I've got a great deal for you. For every workers' comp claim that needs to see an orthopedic surgeon, I'm going to give you 9,000 orthopedic surgeons to choose from. He'd throw me out of his office. So risk managers and work comp people got this years ago. You don't need everybody under the sun to do it, but it's what we become accustomed to as employers and employees. And so we anticipate, we see it today, people saying, okay, let me look at a primary care arrangement like this and a high deductible health plan and a smaller network of docs. And what we've seen is drastic premium reductions while still getting better care. I mean, it still has to be a benefit, you know, and it still has to be convenient for people. It doesn't want to be frustrating. And so whether it's trying to get into the doc, whether it's trying to figure out if a claim got paid or something like that, you'll see some changes, but we just want people to be happy ultimately. You know, at the end of the day, you don't really care if I have high blood pressure, you just care if I'm motivated. And so these are certainly some things to look at, some things to discuss. Like I said, you know, 2 years ago we were still doing this with large employers, a couple thousand people, but now we've got employers all the way down to 6 employees that are employing these type of practices. And the employees are ultimately happier. You know, there's only going to be a few people that will hit that deductible, and if we can help people plan for that, it's even better. But for the most part, we're looking at it more like insurance. Okay. That's it.
Okay, this is the time for your questions, so if you've been holding back, what questions do you have?
This is for Jim, actually. This is a good point. I assume that last thing you talked about with the narrow networking, it's kind of based off an HMO plan or something. Is that managed care started a long time ago, where you narrow the network of who you can go to? So I assume it's somewhat based on that. But my question to you is, if you go with the DPC and then the high cost plan, what can you expect to pay for the direct primary care? Obviously less than 50 people. So you're talking about two different plans, one that's a direct primary care and then going off and providing employees high or letting them find their own.
Right, yeah, no, that's a great question. And you'll see that direct primary care model, at least in the Tulsa market, is going to fluctuate between $60 a family a month up to about $80 a family a month. And typically those are priced, they're priced as family whether it's a family or not. So, you know, like when I see my doc gets $80 a month for me. But it's only me that's eligible. My wife and my son aren't eligible because they're on a different health plan, but they're still getting $80. So if I want to add them, it's $80. But my physician practice provides more than just direct primary care. So much primary care, urgent care, all my lab, all my x-ray, and all my generic drugs, but a lot of other drugs as well. And so, you know, I can go on Saturday, I can go at 9 o'clock at night, and so you'll see that differ from side to side, but 60 to 80 is a pretty good range.
So you're telling me that I can go find a primary care that I can pay $60 to $80 a month for my family, and then go out and find a catastrophic plan perhaps for something that's worse, and I'm going to pretty much get everything I need for that $60 to $80 a month?
Absolutely, I've never paid $1 there.
Per person?
No, per family. Per family. So if I have 10 guys working for me, and I sign them all up, and they're all single, let's say I pay the 80, but if they all have families, I'm still going to pay 80, so I'll just get more bang for my buck. But yeah, they don't ask us, well, how many people are there? They just say how many employees. Yeah, yes.
So, Jim, how does that work inside the Affordable Care Act in terms of the required minimums and so forth that you're supposed to pay?
So it does. So if you wanted to pull the law, and it would be a hefty task to do that, but there's actually language in the Affordable Care Act that allows for direct primary care practices with wraparound high deductible health plans. And a high deductible health plan, keep in mind, depending on what your premiums are, you might only have to go to $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is to save money. Most of those plans are still going to be done with central value anyhow. So the small employers that we have now purchasing higher deductible plans with direct primary care are still meeting this minimum value.
Okay, the next question, we're going to get Jan, question. Jan Slade.
Thank you, Jim. Follow up, actually, two questions, but a follow up on the last one. Would that plan also cover medications? The high deductible or the direct payer primary care?
It depends on what model you use, but but the model that I use in the downstairs is actually has a pharmacy on site. So I don't get a prescription written and hand me my drug on the way out the door.
My first question was, the Oklahoma exchanges, are they ready to go? How do you find out about them? Have they published their rates yet?
Is that my question?
Whoever knows.
Well, again, we have some friends in the back that might know. As I understand it, I can't see, Greg is hiding back there, but
That's the insurance, people.
our friends, you know, there are,
Live rough, but you don't-
our friends from community care are back there.
The advertised opening date is October 1, so just a few days away, and a lot of work being put in by all the carriers and CMS. Personally, we expect some glitches out of the gate. The level of integration with advanced premium tax credits and numerous new plans and eligibility and people projecting income, there'll probably be some system glitches out of the gate because it's a huge new program with integration that's never happened at this level before. But they are committed to opening it up on October 1 to compare
October
plans.
1, October 1, and you can go to healthcare.gov and say, I want Oklahoma, you know, I want to go to the exchange and I want to go to Oklahoma's exchange. And if you go there right now, it says, hey, you will soon have some great options. I went Wednesday last week. I didn't check this morning, but October 1, and I agree. I expect it will be complex and some glitches at the individual level for sure. You know, I wouldn't go the first day, or even the first week, but other people, you know, test it out.
Aren't there navigators that are supposed to be helping people with that?
Yeah, there are navigators that have been retained now, and they're like community, and I can't remember the one here, like the community service organizations that are hiring people to be available to assist individuals who aren't going to be able to go online to ask for. And do you know which organizations in Tulsa? There's one, I read it in the newspaper.
Yeah, and there's a couple, but you know, certainly, I mean, there's people that help me at the DMV too. So I mean, I'm not sure how much, we don't know how that's going to work and how much help it takes.
You know, I really expect that providers are going to be helping people. When you show up at your provider office and you don't have insurance, I would be amazed, especially at the hospital, if there isn't somebody there that walks you through healthcare.gov and gets you signed up, you know, because it's to their advantage, especially at the hospital level. So I think we're going to see. My hairdresser has asked me. I'm her navigator, and her son and my family. You know, and there's a lot of that will happen, but there are community service organizations, and there are federally funded. I think Moten is one federally supported clinics that will also, I expect, play a role in helping people get signed up at the lower income ranges.
Other questions for Ann? Yes, Sharon. Let's get it.
I know Debbie mentioned very early on in your presentation that there are no penalties for, not sending out that letter by October 1st. And I received an email 3 days ago from my CPA firm that says it's $100 a day penalty. So I don't know if you have old information. It's a large firm here in Tulsa. So I'm just trying to understand, am I going to have to pay? I'm going to do it anyway, but as other people ask the question.
Right. I think they're thinking that this is in a different part of the statute. This is This notice about the exchanges is an amendment to the Fair Labor Standards Act. So the $100 a day penalty is in the Public Health Service Act and in the IRS obligations, the Internal Revenue Code obligations. So that, you know, I mean, you're welcome to send it to me and I'll take a look at it, but there's been a lot of confusion. I think that's why the government put out the Q&A for the FAQ.
Thank you.
I would agree with that. I think what you're seeing, and I've had this conversation with a few people as well, there is the language on the books, depending on the regs at which you're looking, that would indicate that the penalty exists and could be enforced, but we do have, I'm going to defer to Debbie on this, we do have more recent language, both official and the government saying what they will and will not apply, that where they basically said, you know what, we're not going to institute the penalty on you right now. That's the last thing that I've told friends and clients who've asked me, that, well, yeah, you need to do it, and as you said, Shannon, you're going to do it, but I have been telling people the last couple of weeks, it doesn't look like you're going to immediately get hit with a penalty on it if you were to theoretically not do it. But I've also not talked to anybody who said, oh, we're not going to make notification.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yes.
We currently have a group plan, and I'm curious about this shop exchange. Is that going to be available October 1st too? Can you clarify some of what that's about? And would I be able to shop for a replacement for my plan versus my individual employees, individual plans?
Well, there's going to be a shop exchange, and in theory, October 1, and the employer can go there.
It's at the same place, the same website?
Yes.
With regard to this unaffordable coverage, how does that relate for employers that have maybe covered 100% of the employee portion and 50% of the family, or 75-25? I assume there's some math there, but I don't know if there's a simple answer.
Affordable is based on the coverage offered for employee only. That's the standard for looking at whether it's affordable. And as employers, we're given some safe harbors, but at the exchange, the individual will, they will look at, if there's no coverage offered, they will look at the household income. Well, if it's offered or not, they will look at the household income. And if the employee-only coverage costs more than 9.5% of their household income, then it will be deemed unaffordable to that individual, and they can get a subsidy. But it only looks at the employee-only coverage, and this is a sort of a mismatch and not necessarily what was expected. So, you want to add some comments?
I think Debbie hit it right there. It's based on employee household income, and I may be going a little off on a tangent here. The issue here, at least the issue as I see it as an accountant, somebody who regularly works with the IRS, is in measuring household income to figure out, well, what's affordable, what's unaffordable. It's 9.5%. Debbie is exactly right about that. Well, that sounds very clean, very mathematical, but now we're talking about household income. How do you measure that? Who's going to measure it? How's the IRS going to police it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So it is a very...
For current time, not looking back.
Yeah, exactly.
It's looking at, okay, what's your household income going to be right now?
Exactly. It is a real-time measure that, and I'm not knocking anybody here. I've got close friends that work in the IRS, but you're trying to get real-time measures of something that is, as we were just talking about, just get the exchanges going. I mean, this thing is massive. You're trying to figure out how to get real-time measures of something and getting an organization to police it that frankly is already taxed maybe a poor choice of words, that's already stretched, I use that word, to police what they're trying to police, looking back 3 or more years. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out when you're trying to define something that should be fairly simple to define, but it's really not.
So for the okay, we're coming up against our time limit here. We have two questions. We have the last 2 questions. One back to the back of the gym. This will be the last.
Yeah, thank you. My name's Bob White. I just wanted to follow up on the Navigator subject that somebody brought up. This is going to be a big purchase for a lot of people. Obviously, they're going to be doing a lot of shopping. I believe they'll be able to go to the insurance company's websites and shop there. They'll be able to look around. But another great outlet you're going to have is your insurance agent. I think everybody in this room probably knows somebody in the insurance business. The insurance agents can also advise you and suggest what might be best for your particular situation. I wanted just to add that point.
Can I just second that? On the shop in particular, there will be insurance agents and brokers are going through a process of registering to be able to help you at the shop and still earn a commission even though you're buying through the shop exchange. And insurance didn't suddenly become simple, and so folks really, a good broker, a good agent, a person like Jim can really help you, and Bob can help you get through that. All those issues and questions. So I strongly encourage that you all to continue to get assistance from an expert on the insurance industry.
I already have the form that we're going to be giving to our employees. I printed it off and everything. And by the way, if you have Hispanic employees, there's a Hispanic version, which will come in handy. My question is, even though it's pretty simple, it's not. And I'm afraid, as we hand it out, there's going to be lots and lots of questions that we as employers are not going to necessarily know how to answer. Do you recommend some sort of a cover letter and try to explain why they're receiving this and what it means? Or should we just pretty much say, we're required by the government to give this to you, knock yourself out trying to find out?
Great question.
On that exchanges, we're telling employers, just make sure you know who you're putting down as the contact number. And so most of our employers are not putting themselves as that contact number. And so they're putting a broker or a consultant or an administrator that they work with or something like that. Because the last thing the employer wants is to get a bunch of questions and effectively say, I'm not sure. Because that's what it's going to be. And so what employers are struggling with, do I generate more questions and more confusion sending it out? Or do I generate more questions and more confusion not sending it out? So I just think make sure whoever you put the contact name on that is something you feel comfortable it's going to be linked.
Okay, I have a follow-up question to that. Related to, Debbie, your comment earlier about not filling out the 3rd page. Because we're in discussions with a broker currently, and they were telling us that we need to make sure that we completed it, all 3 pages. So why not fill out the, and I totally understand your 2 cents on don't corner yourself for the future.
Well, if it's not too much burden for you to fill out the 3rd page says this person in particular, are eligible for coverage. I mean, it's a personalized at the employee level, or you're not, or you're in a waiting period. I can't remember exactly, but you don't have to do that. It's nice. If you have a lot of people who you anticipate will go to the exchange, it will be helpful for them to take that form to the exchange. And the box at the top of page 2 that has all the employer information and who to contact is basically taken from the employee application or the individual application at the exchange. So that's why they put more information on there, to sort of hopefully have people walk in with their information. A lot of folks we deal with, and certainly larger employers, I mean, there's no way they can do individualized statements. If you feel like you can, then it's not wrong to do it. It's just be sure it's correct. Okay, and
Well, there's so much uncertainty. I mean, we just talked to somebody the other day that, again, we don't have this information really until October 1st for Oklahoma. And I'm already hearing some small companies that are deciding, you know, hey, and actually we already provide, we pay 85% of our medical benefits for our 35 to 40 employees. So I'm like, I'm not gonna stick my neck out. And I'm already hearing other employers that are saying, hey, I hear it's cheaper for them to go to the exchange individually rather than for me to pay that premium. So I guess I'm just worried, I want to make sure that we have open avenues, so we have some choices for ourselves as a company and for our employees.
Right. And you know, you have a lot of questions in there. And you know, one way to look at it is for right now, just kind of, if you're offering coverage because that helps you get the right people, you know, and that you're meeting your market as far as labor, attracting and retaining folks, and keep doing it. And we'll see some changes happen over time, but it's not gonna suddenly change 10/1. It's not gonna suddenly change January 1, I don't think. And people still need coverage. They have questions. You have questions. So, and I'll admit, I tend to be I don't buy the brand new phone when it first comes out. I let everybody test it first, and so that's my inclination. But I don't, you know, I don't think we need to panic. And you can help some people potentially by not offering them coverage if they're, you know, in that income range that I showed you, and they might be able to, for the family, have more affordable coverage at the exchange. But it's a very individual determination, and if your employee is married to an entrepreneur who's making a whole lot of money, self-employed, but doesn't have a health plan, you know, they've been working for the benefits, and they can't go to the exchange and get a subsidy. Now they go to the exchange and buy coverage, but they can't get a subsidy. So because that successful self-employed entrepreneur is pulling that family up above 400% of federal poverty level. So you have all kinds of permutations that you just really can't say. We've had a lot of people working for benefits, right? They're, you know, and so their calculation is going to change too. I think we're all going to learn a lot and see where this goes, and it'll also change over time. But I wouldn't be in a panic about changing it. I don't think the notice locks you in. You can put a cover letter with it if that helps explain it. We have some employers doing that, so it's all.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's time for us to close. We have three things to do to close. First thing is to thank this wonderful panel. We very much appreciate all of the things of this. Second thing we have to do is a drawing. So what we say, a $25 gift certificate from 50, and that's Lori driving here. And that is going to go to Mary. And then a $50 gift certificate to Lolo Cleaners, and that's going to go to Kathy Long Knight from DC. The last thing we want to do is thank our sponsors, Tulsa Tech, wonderful place for us to be. Thank you very much. And we'll have more drawings next month, so be sure to come next month. And October 29th is What's Up Downtown. Right here at this location. See you then.